We welcome you back to Kentucky Newsmakers, and we're glad to have you. School is out. The summer travel season is underway. For some Kentucky venues, it's their first normal summer season since before the pandemic. And sky-high gasoline prices are causing some families to rethink some of those long road trips and maybe consider vacations and trips closer to home. In some ways, Kentucky has it all: history, natural beauty, festivals, and experiences like the Bourbon Trail and horse farms. But like every other sector, tourism venues are also hit with workforce challenges. Joining us right now is Secretary Michael Berry, who oversees state tourism efforts. Before that, he ran the Kentucky Derby Festival for a lot of years, and he is with us. And we welcome you, Mr. Secretary. Thanks for coming in.
It's great to be here.
As we do hit summer in Kentucky, gasoline is in record territory. Do you anticipate Kentuckians may stick closer to home?
Well, I think that in conjunction with the pandemic from the past 2 years and some of the economic concerns, that Kentuckians and a lot of visitors may stay closer to home, which I think speaks well for where Kentucky is located geographically, within a day's drive of 2/3 of the nation's population. People, a lot of people said, oh, this thing about us being safe and being outside is just going to last till the pandemic is over. Well, people still like being outside, and Kentucky is well placed for that. I mean, all of the recreational and natural opportunities that we have here have remained strong, and that, coupled with the fact that survey after survey has told us that Kentucky was seen as a safe destination. And, I think a lot of the governors and the citizens' attention to that has kept us at the top of people's mind.
Where do we geographically draw most of our visitors from?
Well, there is that traditional corridor that goes from the Michigan and Chicago area down toward the south. It isn't any accident that I-65 and I-75 kind of go completely through the state. But what we've noticed is that instead of being a pass-through or a flyover state, as the governor likes to say, people are coming to Kentucky. And we're seeing a lot of folks that are taking this, what I call a pod approach. They'll come to a city like Lexington and they will spend the night here, but they will hit the Bourbon Trail, and then maybe one day they'll go over into eastern Kentucky and visit there, or they'll go to Lake Cumberland one day, or they may even venture into Bourbon Country in Bardstown, or head and do some agritourism things toward northern Kentucky, or even the glamping opportunities that are up around Williamstown, etc. So I think what we're seeing here is that people have rediscovered what probably, and I will only speak for myself and date myself, but what we knew as summer vacation when I was a kid growing up.
Are we doing a better job of communicating out there who we are and what we have to offer?
Absolutely, without a doubt, and part of that is thanks to the generosity of Governor Beshear. When we were first receiving CARES Act dollars from the federal government to help spur the economy, the governor took $5 million of those dollars and gave to the tourism industry and said, this is when we need to be promoting Kentucky as a destination. And not only did we do it in those traditional ways, but we also entered markets and advertised to folks that traditionally we hadn't done before, the African American travel market. Because if you see in western Kentucky, Cherokee State Park, which is now part of Ken Lake, and at one time it was in the Green Book, and the history that is there. We've had 2 new places put on the Civil Rights Trail in Kentucky in the last 2 years. And then from the Underground Railroad stops in the Maysville and Augusta area up on the Ohio River, that appeal to that area. LGBTQ travel market. We have, promoted the fact that Kentucky is a destination that is diverse, it's welcoming, and we've invested a lot of those dollars not only to draw people here, but to train our staffs in how to relate and how to promote Kentucky.
How much is hospitality the responsibility of every Kentuckian? You know, we like having the visitors and the money, and you have to treat people well when they're here. Right?
You're exactly right, and you know, Kentucky, I think, is a very hospitable place anyway. I'm a native Kentuckian, and I think there's like this unwritten rule that I always heard somebody say, we'll treat you so many ways, you'll like one of them when you come visit us. And you know, I think that is very important, and you might not think you're in the hospitality industry or the tourism industry, but when you're, you know, making the beeline for the car at 4:30 on a Friday to get home, and somebody needs some directions, or you know, there's somebody in your hometown looking for a good restaurant to eat at, or you know, what is there to do here on the weekend? If you got that 5 minutes, do your commercial.
If you have that information, right? The legislature appointed $75 million
Yes.
for tourism. How will that be used?
Well, the governor and the legislature, in a very bipartisan way, afforded over the next biennium $75 million in ARPA funds, American Recovery Program Act funds. And those dollars are going to be used primarily for tourism commissions throughout the Commonwealth, where those entities in our cities and our counties will be able to create programs to attract folks to those communities. In addition to that, there will be dollars that will be able to be used by our tourism department to attract people, continue to attract people into Kentucky. And then one of the areas that was hit hardest were the meetings and conventions. And I know the folks that are here in Lexington with Visit Lex are looking forward to be able to market. I mean, we're ready, our facilities are ready. We just need to encourage people to get back for those meetings and those conventions. There was a lot of people who said, you know, we don't think that's going to return until 2023. And we're seeing signs through bookings in Lexington, Northern Kentucky, Bowling Green, Louisville, that those bookings are coming back a little sooner, and the fall looks very promising.
Kentucky state parks were once the envy of the nation.
I tell you, they still
are very important, and
Yes.
there is money appropriated, but it's a couple of years out before there's going to be some real work done on those parks. They also played a role in the tornado situation for people who live in Kentucky.
They did. We have an over $200 million maintenance bill, so to speak, that's out there. That's work that needs to be done in parks. And people will many times see that the second year of the biennial budget, which would be fiscal 24, has $150 million for parks. And somebody came up to me the other day and said, where are you going to build a new lodge? Where's the new park going to be? And I said, you know, these may not sound like real sexy things, but you got to have wastewater treatment, and you've got to have infrastructure needs, and you've got to make sure your structures are ADA compliant.
Pave the parking lot.
Pave
right?
the parking lot, right. Now, there may be some new curtains and carpet and mattresses in that mix, but that's going to be very, very important coming forward. But, you know, we're talking about the parks, and I never thought that I would say this, but our forefathers and foremothers knew what they were doing when they had these facilities, not only for tourism, but 6 months ago, actually to this day, the tornadoes in western Kentucky devastated many of those communities. Within 2 weeks, we hit over 800 individuals, distressed guests, that were, and first responders that were housed in our state parks. And many of them were there until their houses and they could find appropriate residences till their houses were repaired, etc. Our last census, I think we're now down to only 2 parks instead of 7, and 18 residents instead of over 800. But, you know, the state parks, it wasn't just a place to lay your head and shelter. We provided 3 meals a day, thanks to not only the incredible state park staff, but also a lot of volunteers. We helped to make sure those communities had Christmases. The First Lady had I swear it's a Guinness Book of World Records, the largest Christmas toy drive in history. And we were able to do that. But, you know, the governor's commitment has been, we are not going to forget them. If it takes a year, if it takes 10 years to rebuild those communities. But yeah, I would tell you, it's very impressive to see what they have done in just 6 short months. but the effects of that is going to be felt for a long time.
Mr. Secretary, I have about a minute left.
Okay.
How do people find out more about what Kentucky has to offer? What is it that they want to know about the Commonwealth?
Well, we are on all of the traditional social media sites, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. If you want to go to the website, you can. KentuckyTourism.com is a great way to plan your trip either to Kentucky or in Kentucky. More importantly, you get old dinosaurs like me who like to have it in your hand. And we have a Kentucky Inspirations Guide is what it's called. And it will literally take you into the different geographic regions of Kentucky, tell you what there is there and what you need to see and where you need to stay and where you need to eat. And we'll help you put together the perfect vacation.
And increasingly more and more apps that are out there with a lot of info, right?
Absolutely. And as the governor likes to say, Kentucky is a great place to live, work, and play. And that's what we're here to celebrate. And it feels so good to be back open again and hosting people and showing them why we called this our home.
We appreciate you coming by and enjoy your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be back on Kentucky Newsmakers and wrap it up in just a moment.